the sound of northern Uganda. Harmonious, upbeat, even joyful. It's the product of the people who live here. But up close, this seemingly unblemished land is covered with wounds and scars. The impact of nearly 30 years of war and instability. You don't have to dig too deep to find evidence of the horror.
This is where the bones of those who were massacred on the 22nd October 2002. After the massacre, they picked the bodies and they were dumped here, and up to now, the bones are still lying there.
Local Acholi culture is one reason they haven't been buried.
They believe that if you bury the person like that, then death that comes in that form will reoccur.
The fears aren't entirely ungrounded. Joseph Kony, leader of the rebel group the Lord's Resistance Army, has inflicted over 20 years of brutality and hostility in the region.
I would say that the roots of the LRA conflict is also a complex one, but at the heart of it is Joseph Kony, and he has become the personification of this conflict.
Kony founded the religious cult in 1986, with no real goal but to resist the government and plunder the region. Since then, the LRA has terrorized the people of northern Uganda, the Congo, and southern Sudan. The militia's reign of terror has largely been reinforced by kidnapping northern Uganda's children. Boys are forced to become soldiers. Girls are given to officers as sex slaves.
The reason why the IRA preys on children, I think, are pretty obvious. They are easily indoctrinated. They are easy to indoctrinate. They make good soldiers.
To understand the LRA conflict, you really have to understand the bush that blankets northern Uganda. This is where soldiers would hide out, and it was too dangerous for civilians to walk the roads, which is why they set up transit camps.
The building in IDP camps were really temporary and was in a very small place that was just put there for emergency on a temporary basis.
Though a relative peace has come since the LRA were forced to retreat to neighboring Congo, many internal displacement camps have become makeshift communities. There's little infrastructure to support life here, much less a living. Alice Achan is familiar with the obstacles. Her family, too, was affected by war.
This is where my mother, okay, when war displaced us from the camp, this is where my mother lived with my sister.
Family is very important in Ugandan society, more than any home or possessions. The breakdown of the social structures is one of many lasting legacies of the conflict. As a teenager, Alice was separated from her closest kin. And like many of her people, there's no longer any home to go to. This is all that remains of her village. Still, it's a place of happy memories. Her father was the village chief. His grave is obscured now by trees and bush. The memories, good and bad, still linger for Achan, and so do the fears.
My spirit is really so scared when I come at night because going out is bushy. You could just imagine the LRA would come back again.
Still, Alice considers herself blessed. While others were forced to stay in camps, she managed to get away to Kampala and go to university. She said she would still be there if God hadn't intervened.
It was in 2002 when there was too much insecurity that the Lord asked me to come back to Padel. And it was something that I couldn't even believe and I couldn't imagine because the rebels were so many. And we went praying. I had the same thing, go back to Padel.
She did. With no resources and security but her own savings and faith, Christian Counselling Fellowship was born. Her goal was to reach the child mothers, girls abducted, raped, and impregnated by LRA insurgents. Rescued by the Ugandan army, many girls had nowhere to go.
We started with about 40 girls who were completely devastated. They were young and they didn't know what to do.
Like so many things in Africa, her work started under a big tree. With no NGOs in town, Alice took these girls in, armed with nothing but a degree in social work and a few Bibles.
Our favorite verse used to be Jeremiah 29 verses 11 to 14. The girls just confirmed that their survival and their abduction, it was for a purpose, because God brought them out and they're helping many people.
In 2006, Crossroads Missions came through and discovered Christian Counseling Fellowship. Missions Director David Shelley says Achan was exactly the kind of person they choose to partner with. Local, connected, and compelled to serve by the love of God.
They're very well connected with community because they're involved in the church life on the ground in northern Uganda. So they automatically have an in with the people and they know the needs.
Today, CCF has grown far beyond crisis counseling. It's reaching out to the whole community through building homes, agricultural training, education, and most of all, care. Achan says it's her life's calling.
There was nothing special about me. I was always in the village where the rebel could abduct me, but God kept me, I think, for a purpose.